A cleaning robot can clean an office floor about the size of a small supermarket in 15 minutes. A very experienced cleaner with a vacuum would take over an hour. So when people see one of those rolling around, they always ask the same question. Did someone lose their job? Nobody did. In fact, some of the team gave the robots names. But it did make us ask the bigger question. What parts of cleaning should humans actually spend their time on? Today, I will show you what cleaning robots are genuinely good at, what they are terrible at, and why most businesses are thinking about automations completely wrong. Because most cleaning still runs like it's 1965. I'm Antoni from Drift. Over the last 14 years we have managed hundreds of facilities across the south of England. And what I want to show you today is not sales pitch for robots. It is an honest account of what actually happened when we introduced them, what worked, what did not, and what changed for our team. We will cover 5 things. Why the industry still runs on guesswork, what robots are actually useful for, the sensor shift that changed more than robots did, the real learning curve nobody talks about, and where this industry is heading next. But first, we need to talk about why this industry still works on assumptions. The industry is built on guesswork. Before we talk about robots, I want to talk about triathlon. I have been doing endurance sport for 10 years. Like most athletes who take it seriously, I became obsessed with data. Heart rate, power outputs, sleep quality, recovery scores. I logged everything. Heart graphs, charts, dashboards. Look at them every morning. For years I had absolutely no idea what to do with any of it. I was data rich and insight poor. The commercial cleaning industry has the exact same problem. Most buildings are still cleaned on fixed schedules, not based on whether they actually need cleaning. We assume a washroom needs a service every hour. We assume corridors needs vacuuming every evening. We assume all areas of the buildings get equal use. Almost none of those assumptions are correct. In April 2026, Sebastian Sauer ran the London Marathon in 1 hour 59 minutes and 30 seconds. Actually, 2 athletes broke the 2-hour barrier on the same day. Human physiology has not suddenly changed. What changed is training data, recovery and decision making built on real information. That is exactly the shift the cleaning industry needs. Not more effort, better information about where the effort should go. But I want to be very clear about something. Because most people completely misunderstand what robots are actually replacing. And it's not human skill, the repetitive loop. Think about what a commercial cleaner actually spends a significant portion of their shift doing. Walking, long corridors, open spaces, large floor areas, vacuuming the same routes, scrubbing the same pads, covering the same square footage. Once a day, sometimes twice. Robots are good at repetitive movement. Humans are good at judgment, detail, communication, and problem solving. The mistake is making humans spend most of their shift doing repetitive movement. This is where the entire conversation about automation has gone wrong. People imagine robots replacing cleaners. That is not what we saw at all. What we saw was cleaners being freed from low value repetition and move into higher value work. Quality control, detail checking, touch point hygiene, client interaction, problem solving, and proactive cleaning, not reactive. The things humans are actually good at. One of our teams used to spend hours every week just vacuuming long corridors. That time now goes into detailed cleaning and quality checks across the building. Work that uses human judgment. And job satisfaction improved because nobody gets into cleaning because they dream of walking behind the vacuum for hours or mopping floors. The robot is not there to take your paycheck. It is there to take your backache. But before you go and buy a robot, I need to show you something robot companies almost never tells you. What robots actually do. Robot companies massively oversimplify this. These machines are not autonomous cleaners that replace entire teams. They are support systems. That's why they're called cobots. That is it. And they are only effective in specific environments. Large floor areas, predictable layouts, repetitive routes, office corridors, large reception areas, warehouses, retail floors, airports, universities. That is where they work very well. Put them into a cluttered environment with complex detailing, changing obstacles, messy washrooms or heavy human-centered spaces, and humans still outperform them every time. A robot cannot clean a tight corner. It cannot dust a monitor. It cannot clean glass properly. It cannot climb stairs yet. And it cannot read a room, build a relationship with a client, or make the judgment call that protects a contract. What robots really do is take repetitive work off people. That is very different from replacing people. But here is what surprised us most when we started down this road. The robots themselves were not actually the biggest breakthrough. The data was. Because once you can see what is actually happening inside a building, you cannot unsee it. And what we saw changed how we run everything. The sensor shift. Alongside the robots, we introduced sensors called proximetrics across a number of our sites. Small wireless discrete devices that monitor how spaces are actually being used. Not people, spaces. For the first time, we had a real visibility, not assumption. Actual usage data. Which washrooms were busiest, which areas barely got touched when servicing actually mattered. One of our washroom blocks was generating regular complaints. On paper, the cleaning schedule looked completely fine. The sensors showed those washrooms were being used twice as frequently as others, with peak demand hitting outside our cleaning window. We redesigned the schedule around real data. The complaints stopped. We saved 130 hours a year at that single location. Not but cleaning more, by cleaning in the right place at the right time. That is the real shift. Moving from fixed schedules to cleaning based on what actually happened in the building that very day. Knowing where the demand is, responding to it in real time, and looking after the client in a way a fixed rota can't do. That is not just better efficiency, that changes the job completely. Instead of turning up and hoping for the best, you know where help is actually needed. We also built our own platform called Shift2Manage, which manages shifts, tasks, site information and reporting across all our facilities. And we used automation to compress what used to be 8 hours of manual payroll work into 20 minutes. None of this is theoretical. It is running across our operations right now. But none of this happened smoothly. And I want to be completely honest about what the introduction actually looked like, the learning curve. Introducing automation is not smooth at first. The industry loves pretending this shift just plugs in and works instantly. It does not. I will be completely honest. Even I walked in thinking you map the robot once and you're done. We are often remapping our robots 2 or 3 times just to stop them parking themselves under a chair and having a nap. There is the mapping, training, route optimization, maintenance, software issues, and operational redesign. And most importantly, there is a human psychology. Because whenever you introduce automation into a workplace, people immediately ask one thing: what does this mean for me? If leaderships handle that badly, the entire rollout fails before it begins. We made one thing very clear from the start. The robots were there to support the team, not to replace the team. The cleaners who used to spend hours of repetitive floor coverage now had time for detailed work, quality checks, and client interaction. They became what I call the pilot, programming routes, monitoring live dashboards, moving the robot between zones, and handling the work that needs human judgment. Once people saw that happening in practice, the resistance dropped. Some of the cleaners started naming the robots, which tells you a lot about how quickly humans adapt once the fear disappears and the reality becomes clear. But zoom out for a second, because this is not really just about our business. The cleaning industry is heading towards a crisis that most people have never heard of. The crisis. The UK cleaning sector employs around 1.5 million people, and it has a serious problem. Only 9% of workers are under 25. 27% are over 55. The workforce is aging. Young workers are not entering the industry fast enough. At the same time, clients want better quality, lower costs and more reporting. That equation does not work with outdated systems. The industry is worth nearly £67 billion, but most operations still work almost exactly the same way they did decades ago. And the UK is already 14% less productive than France and 22% less productive than Germany. Technology adoption is one of the key reasons, but technology on its own does nothing without the right people and the right system behind it. The future of the industry is not humans versus robots. It is intelligent systems supporting better human work. Sensors, automations, data, smarter scheduling, smarter allocation, not replacing people, upgrading what people can do. And the companies that understand that early are going to lead this industry through the next decade. The strange thing is that when most people see a cleaning robot, they focus on the machine. But that is actually the least interesting part. The real story is what happens when an industry stops running on assumptions. Because the biggest problem with commercial cleaning is guesswork. And once you replace that guesswork with real operational intelligence, everything improves. Quality, consistency, sustainability, and the value of the human work itself. Every person on our team who was there before the robots arrived is still with us. They are doing more skilled work. They are less physically exhausted, and they are part of building something that industry has never had before. A model that is fit for the next 30 years. If you want more content like this, practical and built on what actually works on the ground, subscribe. And if you're a facility manager or business owner who wants to understand what it could look like for your operation, there is a link in the description. Come and talk to me. I am Antoni from Drift. Thanks for watching.